A lot of students in class 1A have amazing quirks, like with Bakugo's quirk, how his sweat is pretty much explosives that he can ignite on command, which causes explosions, Todoroki's quirk being half fire-based and half ice-based, and even Deku, who has multiple quirks. But then you have some students in class 1A whose quirks are more lackluster to say. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about 5 students from class 1A whose quirks definitely need some improvements. But I'm not only going to be talking about improvements, I'm also going to add some drawbacks to their improved quirks. And the reason for the drawback is because almost every quirk has some sort of drawback already. So the first person who I'm going to talk about who definitely needs their quirk improved is Ojiro, because Ojiro's quirk is just pretty much having a tail. Even though his tail is pretty much like a third arm, his tail doesn't really do too much. One improvement when it comes to Ojiro's tail is pretty much allowing Ojiro to control the size of his tail. So with Ojiro being a close range fighter, if he was able to change the size of his tail, say he changes to like 6 feet long, he goes from being a close range fighter to being a mid to long range fighter. Or let's say Ojiro's still fighting in close range combat and he ends up shrinking his tail to a centimeter, and then out of nowhere, expanding his tail again. And by doing this, it can become beneficial for Ojiro. For one, it can create some space between him and his opponent, and 2, it can help him with a counter attack or even a sneak attack. Now, when it comes to the drawback of his improved quirk, it would be a cooldown period, just so he wouldn't be able to constantly spam a size change with his tail. The next character on my list is the extreme pervert himself, Mineta. So when it comes to Mineta's improvement, I'm taking some inspiration from Amajiki. So depending on the type of food that Mineta eats, the balls that he plucks ends up having a different effect to them. So let's say Mineta eats something spicy and he plucks one of his balls and he throws it at his target, and depending on how spicy the food was would determine the strength and the size of the flame. And depending on how much cold food Mineta eats, that would determine how long his target ends up staying frozen. When it comes to the drawbacks of Mineta's quirks, if he eats too much spicy food and he doesn't use his quirk, he would end up having a stomachache or even some diarrhea. But if he eats too much cold food and he doesn't use his quirk, he would end up having a massive brain freeze. So the next character I want to talk about is Sato. So with Sato, the more sugar he ends up eating, the stronger he gets. So why not, have a similar effect with caffeine? So the more caffeine he ends up consuming, the faster he gets. So let's say Sato drinks like 10 cups of espresso, he would be faster than Ida at Ida's top speed. So when it comes to Sato's drawbacks, it would be similar to Sugar Crash, but it would just be a caffeine crash. And Sato, he would just end up being, a whole lot slower. So the next person on my list is Sero. So with Sero's quirk being able to dispense tape out of his elbows, I was thinking, why not dispense something else other than tape? And so other than tape, why not dispense chains? And the reason why I feel like chains would be a nice improvement to Sero's quirk is because he does use his tape to capture people, and why not just do it with chains, but it would just be more durable than tape. Now when it comes to his drawbacks, there are actually a couple of drawbacks to having chains be his improvements. So for one, he wouldn't be able to move around as easily with chains like he does with tape. And also his chains wouldn't dispense as fast as tape would because, chains are heavier. The final character I'm going to talk about is Hagakure. When it comes to Hagakure's quirk, I feel like a way to improve her quirk is to turn non-living things invisible. And the reason why I'm going with Hagakure turning non-living things invisible is because she would just be absolutely broken if she can turn living things invisible. Say she turns someone like Deku invisible. With Deku having multiple quirks and being invisible at the same time, that would just be godly. Like he would be an extreme powerhouse, more than he already is right now. And with Hagakure being more like of the support role when it comes to combat, being able to turn non-living things invisible would actually benefit her a lot more. Say she partners up with someone like Yaoyorozu. Yaoyorozu creates a cannon and Hagakure turns it invisible. Their opponent will see Yaoyorozu and obviously not really see Hagakure and go charging into Yaoyorozu thinking she's defenseless, when in actuality there was a cannon right in front of her and that opponent would just be gone. So the drawback with Hagakure's quirk would be the larger the object that she turned invisible, the faster it would turn visible again. So say with this pencil, she turns it invisible, it would be invisible for about a couple hours. But let's say she turned a car invisible, it would be visible within half an hour, just because a car has more mass than a pencil does. So yeah, those are just some ways I would improve some of Class 1A's quirks. Comment down below, what do you think about my improved quirks? Or let me know which character do you think needs improvements with their quirks. But I pretty much got nothing else to say, so I'm gonna end the video here. Thank y'all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for my other discussion videos, also for my reaction videos. So if you're into any of those, definitely subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment, you know the whole thing. So with all that being said, again, thank y'all for watching. Until next time, see ya.